Guys, have you ever had a day where nothing is going your way, and to top it all off, your vehicle just broke down on the side of the road? You have no idea what's going on, you don't have no idea how to diagnose it. Well, that just happened with the Explorer, and I'm about to show you how to take care of it. So this is our Ford Explorer. It's a 2001, and the only thing we've done to it since we bought it was change the battery, change some fluids, and she's been running fantastic. Now the engine has over 300,000 kilometers, and it's a 4-liter V6. Now, with a vehicle this age, you have to expect some problems, okay? Problems in the ignition, problems with your brakes, problems with, honestly, almost any component of the engine and of the entire vehicle. But today, she left us stranded on the side of the road, and I had to push it literally into our driveway. Now, I'm assuming it's the alternator just because of the way it acted before it died, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily what's wrong with it. We could have an issue with the spark plugs, we could have an issue with the coil packs, honestly almost any component that controls the either spark or fuel coming into the engine, because basically what she did is she started sputtering, lost a lot of power, the battery light came on, and then basically the engine just died and stalled out. So it's most likely a power issue, and since we changed the battery already, it's probably not the battery. So let's yank this alternator out of here and see if that solves the problem. Okay, so your first part in doing any repairs to your vehicle is making sure you have a safe environment to do that work in, and making sure you have the correct tools and the correct parts to make those repairs. The next step is making sure you have the correct tools to do the job. In this case, we have a tool bag with all the proper tools, and literally I keep it in the back because when you're driving a 20-year-old vehicle, you just gotta have something at a moment's notice. Next, you need to have the proper parts to make those repairs. In our case, we need an alternator and a serpentine belt. So the first thing you need to do when you're doing any repairs to any electrical components on a vehicle is disconnect the battery. So let's go ahead and do that. If it gives you any issues, just grab a little flathead, then push off the side. Now you're ready to work. Next step, you want to take off your intake. So just disconnect your clips for your air filter so it's loose. Then we're going to use a flathead screwdriver to undo the clips and undo the clamps. These clips are pretty easy, so just press down on the tab and pull out. There you are. Next, just remove the vacuum hoses. Undo the little wiring harness so you have a little more room, and you're done. Next, you need to remove this serpentine belt that goes around all the pulleys. In our case, it's all cracked up, so basically it needs replacing anyways, so it's a perfect time to do that now. Now, in the event that you don't have the proper tool, if you have a 3/8 drive universal bit, you can put it on an extension. And the one thing that a lot of us have is 3/8 extensions. So honestly, there you go, you got yourself a handle and a little bit. This 3/8 bit on the end is what's going to loosen off that tension. So let's do that. So now that the extensions are attached to the tensioner pulley, we can just pry to the left, it'll loosen up, and then we can just pop the belt off. Next, there's a little clip on the side of the alternator. You just want to make sure you use a flathead screwdriver and you can just pop that sucker off. And there you go. Now we can start unbolting it. So that's a 10mm for this bolt and a 13 for this. I'm using a deep socket so we can get around it pretty easily. And then it's a 13 as well down here. So now that the belt's off and the alternator is all unbolted, ground and the power are all taken off, it's out. Now, I know the parts store told you that this is gonna fit, but honestly, mistakes can happen, and you wanna make sure that after your old alternator is out, that you just compare it side by side, making sure that the bolts are the same, making sure the plugs for the wires are the same. And then if everything looks copacetic, just pop it right back in. Now the alternator is out of the way, we can put the serpentine belt in. This one is nice and new, so it's not gonna have all those gross cracks. So here's the belt. You can tell it has all these cracks in it. So it's just best that when you're doing the alternator or anything on the front of the engine that you replace it, or at least check it while you're there. In this case, we are ripping ours out and putting the new one in. And just like the alternator, you want to make sure you hold up your new belt to the old belt, making sure that they're the same length and width. So in this case, I can see that they're the same width. As for the length, you can see here, it's the same length. And we're set to put the alternator in. Just the same way you took it out, you should be putting it back in. So let's seat it where it should go. And then we're going to start by those bottom bolts, and then the top bolts, then the wires. Your best bet is to start by hand tightening the bolts because you don't want to strip the threads. So now the alternator is in, it's nice and snug, 3 bolts to hold it in. That holds it into the brackets on the front of the engine. We can put the belt back on, and then we can plug it in and then put the whole intake back together and start her up and see if she'll hold the charge. Now that the belt's on, we can start connecting all the plugs. Now the next step is to put our air box back on. So here's the moment of truth. Let's see if we fix the problem. No battery light. Excellent. And we're charging. Perfect. It's exactly what we wanted. Now that our project's done, the light went out and she's charging. I'm so happy. Guys, if you liked the video and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be a lot more stuff on the Explorer in the future, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Take care and do what moves you.